We hope you'll agree and move forward.
Okay, we have a request from the school district to be able to hook onto our sewer. We've had our engineer say that it's feasible to do. We have the capacity to do it. The question is does the council want to allow the school district to hook onto our sewer system? Talk about it further.
Well, so the other thing that I gave you is the state ruling from our Utah Code R317-4-3 on wastewater and sewer. And paragraph 3.3 of that says the system for each building shall receive all wastewater, shall have a connection to public sewer, except when the sewer is not available or practical. In which case, then you have to do an on-site, what do we call it, a septic system. So that language from the state health code, we read as mandatory, saying we shall hook up onto the sewer if it's available and practical. And I think you just answered the question. It's in the street right in front of the school, and your staff says it's practical. There's a capacity there. We think that we don't have a whole lot of choice because of what the rule says. We shall connect the public sewer except when it's not available and practical. We think it is, so we think we have to hook on. We want your blessing. Here's your system. We think that that's what the law requires, and we have to comply with it. We want to get this connection made in a timely manner and move forward with the school for the benefit of these students. That's what we're doing. It's pretty straightforward.
Any comments from the council?
Well, it seems like the voters can vote to support this project if they want to stay there. For me, that's an important piece of information. Because I can't see these in really good arguments.
I don't see it. I don't write.
Well, I just thought that we could, look at the real breakdown of all the particular issues and submit something to the school board on, what it is that we appreciate, in your agreement and so forth. We know what you're offering. I think we know what you're offering. And I also think we know what you'd like to change in the future as far as income. And I think that we need time to discuss these things as a council ourselves. Maybe we can have a special meeting, but we still need to discuss these things and decide, okay, are we going to agree with this or not? And I think that, once we get those things resolved, I don't see a problem going forward, but I do want to resolve these things.
I think making it a linear equation like that and saying if you don't do these things to our satisfaction, we won't let you hook up with the sewer creates a problem for they're just not really connected.
So you don't think that we should have any discussion about these issues at all?
I think we've been having discussion all night about them, and I think we've been making real progress. I think it's a separate issue than
But see, you
the issue of
yourselves,
hooking up to the sewer.
you brought these things to us because you had time to sit and discuss it. That's all I'm asking for.
What's your drop dead date on this decision?
May 1.
I mean, you need to know by May 1st or like a certain amount of
That's the day that hooks on, isn't it?
That's the day we'll have plumber on site. The way it's plumbed depends on
You weren't aware of that deadline.
Oh, you
Yeah,
mentioned it, but I just want to know, like,
I'm telling everybody that since I came in.
it seems like to me this framework for determining impact fees could take some time for us to look into, and I would like to see how other communities do it. I don't want to mess up this timeframe. This needs to happen.
Yeah.
I just wonder,
Appreciate that.
do we have
That's-
some time, or that's are we looking at, like, if we don't have this time, we can start tomorrow, we're going to have to bump our May 1st deadline. I mean, clearly the community would not be happy with this. or delaying the opening of the school. I don't want to mess that up. I do feel like we need to talk about it.
As much as we'd like to say these issues, or like to think of these issues as linked, they're not linked legally. And so if we're trying to make a timeline, build this school, and build it out and have it ready for students when school starts, we got to get going.
Sure, you are affecting our fiscal year budget next year. We need to plan for these things, all right? We're in a current budget cycle, but, I think we just need some time to discuss all of the ramifications.
I appreciate that.
And we are having a meeting on April 21st, we could probably call one before that. But, that's well before your May 1st deadline. But
It is.
I don't think that.
But if we run the risk,
We're gonna drag
if
this
we run
on
the
down.
risk of waiting that long and then just say no, then we're stuck.
Well, but you ran the risk of not even asking us.
No, we gave you a notice that said that the minute we identified the property. I just told you, I drafted that notice and sent it to your mayor and met with him. So that argument doesn't carry
Maybe
any
we need
water.
to talk to the mayor, because maybe.
Because you've known
Yeah.
from the minute we knew that this was the site for the
Yeah, so
school.
the they didn't communicate with you guys. Yeah, we assumed that they had. No, I just like apologize. I think we thought that we were getting notification. I'm sorry.
So I'd like to be able to wait a long time and decide that.
Maybe we can promise to have a meeting as soon as possible. We do have a convention in St. George next week. I don't know if we can publicly notice anything down there. We'll all be there.
Can I ask a question? I guess I don't understand. What effect on your budget does it have if we look hard and don't have budget resources?
The road
The
costs?
road costs don't have anything to do with the sewer costs, do they?
No.
It's part of this issue. It's part of the development.
I know you want to
I don't understand.
but some of us see it as linked. We wouldn't be having this meeting if it wasn't for the sewer, would we?
No, we have been working with the ombudsman, and that's, we started
But
the
all
traffic
these other
study
issues
on everything.
that
On
we're
all of that,
discussing-
we've been working for months, we want to resolve
All
all
these
these.
other issues,
Years.
we want to resolve them, you want to resolve them, but they've just been floating until this issue comes.
Mm, We've been making
So-
efforts to fix this problem.
I think there's agreement, at least I thought there was, on the water share. There was agreement on the grade. There was agreement on the traffic study and a way of dealing with the street, that we've got some percentages and I think we're there on the street.
I
I think
understand. You want
that,
us to decide tonight, but,
No, we know
need
you
time
can't
to-
decide
We know you
we
can't
need
decide
time to
tonight.
talk.
so the issue of hooking onto the sewer, I'm just saying is not linked. Let me finish. The impact fee issues, there's a process out there, the negotiations ongoing. Those will either result in agreement, or the ombudsman is already teed up to make a decision that we'll abide by. So the process of resolving the impact fee issues, be it methodology or amount or whatever, is already in place. There's been a lot of work done, many of them before you were on the council, that is working toward resolution of those issues. So why do we need at this point in time to say we have to link the resolution of all those issues to hooking up to the sewer and screw up the timeline for constructing this school and cause cost overruns and delays and have the school not ready for the students?
I don't
Because
see,
we want to have an
I don't
artificial
see,
link.
and I take a little offense with you saying we're screwing up the timeline. We're on a timeline. She suggested we'll be meeting the 21st. This is a work meeting.
Okay.
We can't even make decisions in a
I
work
understand
meeting.
that.
And so we'll talk about it, put it on the agenda for the 21st, have a meeting with staff, have them crunch some of these other numbers. I don't see us saying no to anything. We've got
I
work to
don't
do.
either, I'm just worried about it, not
Well,
because.
it's a worry, but it's,
It will, if the permission isn't granted by May 1st, so that the plumber can be on site doing his work,
We understand.
it's a major problem.
We understand.
And if you get caught up in the idea that these are linked in some fashion, and you say, because we have been able to resolve some of the other issues, we're gonna say, no, you can't hook onto the sewer by May 1, then where does that leave us but to say, well, there's mandatory language in a health code rule, and there's a statutory process for dealing with it. Are we going to have to sue you next week to get permission to hook onto your sewer by May 1? Because otherwise we run the risk that you'll create some linkage and deny that, and then we're really stuck.
Well, and if we agree to hook on, and then all those other issues you're gonna throw to an ombudsman, we are a city entity where you're building, and we're a different city entity. We are negotiating between us if you want to come into our city and hook onto a sewer.
The statute does not
Well,
care whether
you're
which
saying
city
that,
it's in.
you're saying that, our attorney isn't.
It says, it doesn't say anything about the city. It says, shall connect unless it's not available or practicable.
Well, it
It
isn't
doesn't say which
available
city
yet,
it's
because
in.
we haven't made it available to you.
It's sitting in the street right in front of the
That's
building.
fine.
It's
That's
available.
all we need here.
That's not a hard question to answer if you think about it.
So there's really no reason for you to threaten us with a lawsuit. We want to work with you.
I appreciate
Please
that.
give us some time. We'll try to have a meeting as soon as possible.
Okay.
We'll try to get back with you as soon as possible.
That would be great.
Like Tony says, there's no way we want to disrupt the timeline, but you can see you put us on a very tight timeline to agree to this. And yet numbers still need to be crunched. Your numbers are obviously, different on your methodology, but we won't tie that into this.
That's the impact fee
I
question.
understand that.
Yeah.
We certainly hope to resolve a lot of issues and do a lot of house cleaning, because for the last 2 years, I have not dealt with the school board at all, okay, on any issues, last 2 years that I've been on this council. So the work that you've done before, I'm not aware of, all right? I am just giving the information for right now, can we resolve issues right now?
Sure.
Now, I'll give you my word. I'm going to try to work with the rest of the council to set up that meeting as soon as possible where we can discuss it among ourselves, all right? We understand where you're
If you do, I'm not sure that all these other issues are going to be resolvable.
We
within
understand
time.
where you're coming from.
Okay, and so if you'll give us an assurance that you'll do the best you can to try and get the council to have a meeting and vote the sewer connection up or down, whether some of you think it's connected or others don't or what, at least get a vote on that permission
is it my
within a fairly
understanding-
quick timeline, that would be very helpful.
Is it my understanding that if we come back to you and say, yes, we give you sewer upon these conditions, that you don't want any conditions other than the settlement agreement that you proposed?
I can't answer something that's speculative, because I don't know what your conditions
Well, that's what
are.
I'm wondering. Are you going to say, no, we're not going to agree to any other conditions, only to the ones that we've offered? I mean, what's your...
Can I tell you my opinion on this?
Uh-huh.
To me, the sewer connection is a completely different issue than,
So you don't
than
want
what,
any
I'm
other
just
conditions?
saying, let me finish,
Okay.
and what we're trying to work out with all these other issues. In good faith, I think both parties will continue to work to resolve those issues. But what I'm hearing from you is, we're going to possibly hold hostage the connection to the sewer until you give us a set of, here's what we expect you to do in trying to resolve these issues. It may take 3 or 4 months for us to both understand what we want to do on this, on the grid and all that. And so, to me, that is a separate issue, because by law, we can and have to connect to that sewer.
It is on you, yes.
So I just think, well, I'm not trying to say to you, give up some of your leverage. I don't think it's an issue. We're going to continue to work on these issues of the canal, the impact fees. We'll continue to work and discuss and come to an agreement, and moving forward, it'd be a positive experience of what we're going to do in the future.
Is the 21st too late to give you that assurance on the sewer?
If it's given, it's fine. If it's denied, it's a problem. It would be fine if it were, but you can't give an assurance because you don't know what your vote's going to be. But, so if there was a way to, let's see, we're talking 21st of April, right? I don't know, it sounds like you're going to a
Sounds like we're going to
convention.
have to do something earlier.
If you could find a way to do it quickly, that would be a big help. I'm not trying to threaten with a lawsuit, I'm telling you that I've got responsibilities to my client to try and help them stay on their construction timeline, to save them delay costs.
So this is the first time we've heard of that construction timeline too.
Okay, it's not the first time I've told it to.
I think the discussion is,
I have one more thing I'd like to say, please, before, just on this issue. the church was allowed to hook onto the sewer, and I would ask, what conditions did you put on the church to hook onto that sewer? When you made a decision that it was in the best interest of the community, based on the size of the septic tank that would be needed, what's any different between the school and the church? And I think the precedent is a pretty good one, that it's the right thing to do then, it's the right thing to do now. Now, we'll deal in good faith with the conditions, and we'll try and meet you just like we have on the grape, just like we have on everything else we've been trying to do now, in the spirit of new, better relations. And I apologize for anything I may have said today that was detracting, because that's exactly what the school board intends to do. It's going to represent the interests of this community, and build that school and serve this community just like you're doing with the city. We're glad you watched us for the city taxpayers and for the tax dollars, just like the board is for the bond and the taxes it administers. So we're not that far apart, in fact, in actuality. There's quite a few emotional things along the way, and I apologize for the emotional.
Earlier, you made the comment that if we would just hurry and sign that, we could get it, you kind of said it was on us to hurry on the great thing, I remember a while back. If we get the things we'd like to have resolved to you right away, when are you meeting again as a board where you could give us an answer on your side of that?
We'll get together and meet.
Is that
We would call a
right?
special session.
Yeah, we're meeting Friday, no, Thursday. We're meeting the day after tomorrow. But yes, we would call a special session.
Because, we had a
Session to get
protracted
together.
issue with red ledges that took us meeting after meeting after meeting. And what we were doing is we had attorneys on both sides, we had a whole other subdivision involved that had litigation with red ledges. And we did resolution after resolution, and there were new things kept kind of getting in there, we kept working on it. And that's kind of what we're at here. But before we meet on the 21st or whenever, if we could get together as soon as we can, we have meeting notices and other things we have to deal with, as do you, and give you a list of those things we think you need to, the numbers. I haven't heard any real firm numbers on a lot of this. If Bart and some of them, bless their hearts, we'll be away, they can work and we won't be here bothering maybe the first of next week. Can pull some numbers, get